Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the 19th hole. We are live on In Between Media. You better be subscribing. You better like this video. If you haven't already, get with it. Subscribe to In Between Media. Not just the 19th hole, all sorts of sports, lifestyle intertwined with the sharpest minds in the business. Conor Coughlin Bo McBrayer. We finally snapped our winning streak, and we both snapped it by not playing a guy in our algorithm, our player pool that popped up, and it was like a Mexican standoff where neither one of us wanted to say Eric Van Rooyen's name, even though he was on both of our top 20 lists. And guess what? He won the Mexico championship down there in Cabo. Well, we got pie on our face. Our winning streak is over. We're going to start a new one in Bermuda for the Butterfield Championship. Let's hit the intro. All right, so in case you're wondering, the dulcet tones of Conor Coughlin, he's losing his voice, not from drinking too much whiskey, probably from not drinking enough. Have you polished that bottle of Redbreast 15 yet?
No. I'm sipping that sparingly, but we're going to see if this couple nips of Maker's Mark gets me going here. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that works. I got some Old Forester 1920 Prohibition, my favorite version of Old Forester. I mean, some people say 1920 is the best. Some people say 1910. I'm a 1920 Prohibition guy. My great-great-grandpa was a bootlegger. It's in my blood. I mean, I go way back to the old Irish immigrants, just like you, where the government doesn't need to know everything. And what they don't know doesn't hurt them, and what they don't know means they can't stop you from drinking good juice.
10 or 20, I don't care. They're both excellent. I actually am more of a 10 guy, but they're both in the top.
But you don't hate either one of them. I'm not going to turn down a pour of 1910 any day of the week.
No, the Whiskey Rose series in general, there's not a whole lot that I'm not gonna. Or that I'm going to turn down, I should say.
And Old Forester Rye, very underrated.
Old Forester, period. Like we've talked about a billion times on this show. Like I'm not above grabbing a $26 bottle of 100 proof. I think it's excellent. Like I'll sit and sip
for
that.
The price,
no problem.
Yes. Good juice is good juice is good juice.
Yes, Old Forester.
So we got pie on our face. Eric Van Rooyen, who never wins ever, decided to come out of hibernation and win last week in Mexico. Where did that come from? Because yes, he popped up in our model. Both of our models had Eric Van Rooyen right there plain as day, and neither one of us wanted to play him. We didn't even mention him on the show once. Not for betting, not for DFS, despite him being in both of our models. What does that tell you about how we are? Is our model works, however, there are guys we still hate.
I was just going to say, it tells me that beyond a shadow of a doubt, I am saving how I modeled for next year. Because
hell yeah.
If it's at El Cardinal again, which is debatable.
I mean, if you ask Kelly Craft, it won't be.
Well, we can talk about that in a second, but yeah, undeniably, like the modeling worked excellent. Like they churned out a lot of great plays. Some of the plays that didn't hit our betting lines and our DFS. Yeah, and Van Rooyen was in there, and quite frankly, yeah, it makes perfect sense. Of course, it doesn't require any kind of accuracy. There was not a drop of water to speak of. We all know that he's a divining rod, so the fact that wasn't going to be an issue. I mean,
He is a willow branch.
So, I mean, it makes perfect sense. And there are some things to like about Van Royen. It was just one of those, like you said, there's golfers that have just absolutely burnt us too many times. And anybody who says they don't have any bias in their picks is full of shit. So,
And our biases will get in the way, and sometimes they'll pay off for us. Like we've elevated guys into our player pool who didn't quite make the cut. Like Kurt Kitayama was not in our model at the PGA, and he got fourth place. It works both ways. We're gonna have give and take all season long. You had me at butter with the Butterfield Bermuda Championship. A field of butter sounds remarkably awesome.
just lube you up.
And Bermuda sounds like a place I would butter myself up, like Kramer on the roof. Uh, it just seems like the perfect place to bet on some golf in an absolutely atrocious field. And just like in your article on In Between Media's website, this is the time to fire up the dart throws, and let's hope your foot's not over the line when you throw those darts. We want the points for this stuff, and there are plenty of guys with long odds that we want to bet on. What do you say we hit the Club Twirls intro and get right into it?
I love where your head's at.
So it is party time. Let's party, Seth, our fearless leader. Dart season, camel crushes. Okay.
More of a. We talked about SIGs last week too.
Your Uber's on the way, Seth. Let's talk about the course. I'm under the impression it's unfortunate, but there is not a field of butter here in Bermuda. Tell me about this course.
Port Royal Golf Course in Southampton, Bermuda. It's a par 71. It is exceedingly short at about 6,830 yards. Bermuda grass. The probably the thing.
If they had a different cut of grass, I'd been really disappointed. That's false advertising.
We should have just said it was something else just to create more irony on the show. So it's like I said, it's essentially at its core, it's a short coastal course. You're basically on an island. A lot of the holes are actually going to be nestled right next to the coast. The main thing to look at with this course actually is the wind or the extremely fast wind, as it's going to be on probably most of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Thursday is going to be about the only day that isn't going to mess with these guys tremendously bad, but the rest of it, it's going to be very windy. And really, even though it's a shorter course, a lot of times we'll talk about bombers maybe having an advantage, dropping it out there and being in wedge range. That's really not the case here. This really does kind of tailor towards a shorter, more accurate player that can plot their way around. I don't mind guys that can also scramble. You're going to have to get up and down a bit here, especially when that wind kicks up. I don't care how accurate you are.
I'm already thinking about a guy, and he's pretty high on the odds scale here. So you're not going to be surprised when I say the name Akshay Bhatia.
I'm not going to be surprised. I'm not in on him.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, there isn't a lot to say about this place. I don't know how much you remember it from the last 4 years, but
I don't.
It's not one of those tournaments that I generally watch shot for shot. It's pretty uninspiring. So we'll try and find some gems.
Although it is the place where you would actually want to go watch it in person, I'm guessing.
Hell yeah. Yeah, somebody wanted to set me up in a nice, cozy hotel, and I can just kind of wander the course and get drunk all day. Yeah, I'm definitely.
Yeah. I was just looking at the odds and thinking I didn't want to spend up on Dietrich or Todd or even Taylor Pendrith here. 22-1 for Akshay Bhatia in a group of guys in the same range. I just feel like his wedge game is so strong that's where I want to park my car here. Unless you're going at the very top, Adam Scott 16-1 is the betting favorite right now. which seems a little short, or it's short for Adam Scott, but it's long for an outright favorite in any event. Nobody's at single digits this week.
Yeah, and I do like Adam Scott a little bit. I do like, and I like him. I like him mainly because he's a pretty decent win player. So a lot of the accuracy issues that he had for a good portion of last season have kind of gone by the wayside. And then on top of that, he was, like I said, already a pretty good win player. So um, I like when you can take the driver out of Adam Scott's hand too. Sometimes, like that is or does tend to be where he gets a little off. So I definitely like the way it sets up for him. I actually think that 16-1 on Adam Scott is a pretty good value. He's a absolute world-class player. You kind of got to scratch your head a little bit and wonder what the hell he's doing here. Yeah, I guess he just likes
Yeah,
Bermuda.
he's like a big bird at the boardroom table, right? Because like he's by far the class of this field, and the rest of it is like, okay, any other week in a full field PGA Tour event, none of these guys are less than 50-1. None of them.
And that's kind of my problem is he seems too long for how good he is. And then
Bingo.
the guys right behind him seem way too short for how good he is. You start to talk about like I do like Lucas Glover at 20-1. I think that he has proven that he's in a field like in a tier of his own in this field too. Um, you can definitely read up on why we like Lucas Glover week on week. I mean, he's undeniably one of the hottest golfers in the world right now.
And he's accurate, and he's going to play well in the wind. He can putt his ass off. Lucas Glover, ironic in that he does not wear gloves, and he only wears white polo shirts. So, I mean, what are you going to say about the guy? He's steady. He's automatic when it comes to hitting good shots. He's not going to hit your amazing pin seeker shots, but he doesn't make very many mistakes. And at a course like this, where you're just looking for a guy to not screw everything up, especially with the wind being the way it is, the greens are smaller complexes, complete opposite of last week. Carbonall, everything's wide open, huge. It was basically just a putting contest, as John Robb would call it. And that's why Eric Van Rooyen was shot a 28 on the back to come home on Sunday with the win. Is he made every putt, single putt went in for Eric Van Rooyen, and that's why he prevailed. And then this week it's going to be like, okay, who's not going to shoot themselves in the foot? And I trust Lucas Glover. I trust Adam Scott to not blow up in his like hold the grenade too long after pulling the pin. Lucas Glover is a trustworthy golfer, and in this field, that's really all I can hope for for a favorite pick.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Like, I think that the top of this board is precisely what you said. It's who is just going to be steady enough to kind of weather the windstorm. And I think Adam Scott and Lucas Glover probably represent the best value at the top. There's a lot of hype on Taylor Pendrith. I loved the way Taylor Pendrith set up last week, and he did show up and he did okay. But this is like Bo just alluded to. This is pretty much 180 degrees from what we did last week, and so Taylor Pendrith just kind of falls to the wayside in my modeling. I do think he's going to win soon. Absolutely, it's possible he could club down and take a run at it here, and I'll look silly, but I don't think this is a course that sets up as well for him. And I'm definitely not going to pay 22-1 for Taylor Pendrith.
No.
When I can have Lucas Glover for just a little bit shorter. So
Actually, Lucas is at 22 also on DraftKings right this moment. So
that is
even better.
beautiful.
Even better.
That's beautiful.
Isn't that wonderful when things just work out that way?
It feels nice, doesn't it?
It feels right.
Oh, I'll let you talk about your new favorite golfer, Akshay Bhatia, a little bit, and then I've got a guy in the 30s.
Okay. Yeah, and you have another guy at 28, I think. So Akshay Bhatia, wedge game strong, wind play strong. He's a low trajectory guy, and when I was there at the old Greenwood in Tahoe when he won the Barracuda, I was impressed with how he flighted his wedges. It was more like, okay, everybody's hitting a wedge way up in the air when there's no wind. And there was no wind at the Barracuda when we were there. But he still kept that trajectory low so he didn't overspin the ball. If you're into the wind, it's very easy to come up short because you spun it too hard, and it's conversely easy to carry it too long because you didn't put enough spin on it with the wind. That's going to come in handy here. Everybody's going to be hitting wedges into these greens. Every single golfer is going to have the same approach distances. When you get a short course like this, driving distance doesn't matter. It's going to be about who can hit the best shots with the same clubs in their hand. And I think that falls into an area of strength for Batia, and all he needs to do is make some clutch putts, and he's going to be up there in that top 10 conversation. 22-1, as far as I'm concerned, is just in line with how I expected him to be favored here. I wouldn't say it's too long or too short for this event in this field. It just comes down to, and I look around who else is in that area. I like Glover and I like Batia, and the rest of them are kind of like, why are they here?
Yeah, I think Batia is probably going to continue to be the divider for you and I in this kind of wraparound season. I get your points, and I think I see some of it, but I think that's short for him if you were to ask me. And I think there's guys right here that you and I both like. There's two guys.
I am asking you.
Well, I think there's two guys right here that actually have slid a little bit down to 28-1, and one guy that actually has gotten longer at 30-1 since I wrote my article this afternoon. So starting with the two guys at 28 that I really, really like, Mark Hubbard, who has a great acumen for being accurate. And he actually, if you look at wind metrics, plays better the windier it gets, which actually kind of surprised me. I definitely like him. We always say it. I like him in these lesser fields, and I think the skill set just looks right. And 28-1, Hubbard can definitely hang. So that's a good number. Luke List, going to keep riding that until it completely dies. He continues to perform. Another guy that does tend to play a little bit better in harder conditions. So I don't mind taking another shot at Luke List. And his tee to green game has just been excellent over the last 36 plus.
That's always been the strength of his game too. It's just getting to the green and what happens after that. And bogey avoidance, he scares me a lot. I heavily weighted bogey avoidance because of the wind conditions. So that's where I'm out on List. I do like Hubbard, though.
Well, the other part about List, and the part of the reason that I didn't really go super heavy in any of the writing or anything about Luke List is he's not great at scrambling. He's decent in wind. He's great at tee to green, but if he misses the green or he's in the rough, he's not fantastic. So we're going to need a lot of accuracy out of him. But yeah, between the two, I definitely like Glover, and I definitely like Hubbard better in that price range. But Doug Gim at now 30-1, formerly 28-1, is somebody that I don't normally get super excited about, but you just can't deny how good his tee to green has been, how good his approach has been. He's not missing fairways. He's not missing green.
He's accurate as hell.
Yeah. And another thing that really stands out is he's excellent on par 5 scoring. And that's where you're going to need to make some hay this week. So I really, really like that number on Gim. And if that continues to slide a little bit, it might be one of those to kind of sit and wait and see what it looks like tomorrow morning. Cause
I think if he keeps slipping, he'll be even more favorable. I still didn't like him at 30 that much. Like if he gets more to 35, then I'm really in on Gim. Like it's moving the right direction on him. He's just, for me, like Doug Gim doesn't belong at 30-1 or 28-1. It's just, it's too weird. It's uncomfortable. But if he slips at 35, we're in business.
I mean, Gim did just throw up a 15th at the Worldwide. So, I mean, it's not that that's super newsworthy, but I mean, his form is kind of rounding into place, and he's Hubbard with more distance. I mean, so he's a deeper number. That's kind of how I started getting onto him. So I don't know.
Hubbard's a lot better putter, though.
Yeah, typically. Yeah, for sure. So, I probably would take a couple of shots at, probably
the 5 best rappers.
What do you think? I think I got a pass on him this week.
I'm actually favoring Brandon this week.
Yeah, a little bit.
Brandon's skill set. Despite them having the same last name and from the same general area of the country, complete opposite games on the course. They get into the hole a different way. Uh, Brandon Wu, much more accurate, much more tee to green. Doesn't bomb the ball like Dylan does. So at 40, you could do a lot worse than Brandon Wu. Dylan, I don't know if he's going to be staying in play enough for me this week. That should scare you because as great as he is off the tee distance wise and scoring on par fives wise, he gives it back with with big numbers on certain holes, and we can't have that.
Yeah, and he's a trash wind player. Absolutely
Yeah,
trash.
does not line up for us.
So I don't know. I'm okay waiting a week, maybe a week or two on the 5 greatest rappers of all time showing up. But yeah, I think going down from there, the next guy I got interest in is Matthias Schmid, or you may see him as Matty Schmid depending on where you're looking at.
Yeah, German.
But anyways, he's kind of in the minority for me as he is a bit of a bomber off the tee, and his accuracy isn't always super fantastic, but he's been gaining in every single metric for pretty much most of the wraparound season. The only thing that gets him from time to time is the around the green, but his accuracy, both off the tee and on approach, has been so freaking stellar. That I'm willing to kind of overlook that around the green game because it's a really good number on him.
He's playing great golf, and the metrics don't always tell you that story. Like if you're looking at stats and you're not actually paying close attention just to the form, they're playing with confidence. Like he's hitting better shots across the board. He's more consistent. He's carrying himself better around the course lately. You're starting to see him get more good finishes consistently, and that doesn't show up on the stat sheet all the time. So Matty Schmidt again playing great golf, and yeah, where he's maybe not a perfect fit for this course, he's also 50-1. So you got a guy who comes in hot. Usually they stay hot.
Well, if you look around him too, in that 50-1 area, like it's not a whole lot of options.
It's disgusting.
And like I hate to start throwing stones at the now glass house that Peter Quest lives in, but 55-1 on a guy that like can't even make a cut versus Matty Schmid, who's making cuts and continues to improve.
And we love Peter Quest, but he's not in good form.
Yeah, he's not making cuts, and realistically, he's not proven to be very accurate off the tee, and he's not a good scrambler. This is just not a good spot for him. And we know a win for him is coming. Like one of these weekends, he's going to put it all together. I just don't. I think it's a stretch to think that in a windy, shorter, more accuracy-driven setup that this is going to be it. But
yeah, I like your boy Lauer a lot more in this area at 60-1. But I'm taking dart throws on Peter Malnati, the other bucket hat. Peter Malnati just pops. He pops like hell for me. 6th in my model. The dude plays out of his mind in the wind. He's an accuracy maven. So give me the Malnati train here. Another low ball flight guy. I like guys with piercing ball flights, especially with wind. Piercing ball flights.
I don't know why everything just sounds filthy out of your mouth.
It's because I emphasize the right syllables. Emphasis on the wrong syllable.
Good Lord.
What do you think about Peter? Don't call me Illuma Malnati.
I'll just say that it's a name that's popping up more and more, and it does. He is popping in my.
Chelsea knows what's up,
and it is popping up more in my model too. So I don't hate that at 70-1. I think that's actually a pretty decent call. I think with Malnati, the kind of the I don't know, like I don't want to say scary part, but he's really not very accurate off the tee. I'm hoping that him clubbing down is going to unlock like his full potential. And I think that's kind of what you're saying is that the rest of the game is really stout. So this sets up nice for him. And yeah, I would take a couple shots at 70-1 for sure.
For sure. Are you back on Lipsky this week?
I am not. I did actually think about him.
Mhm.
Um,
I'm surprised I know I'm not surprised at all that you're not in on our Mr. Thumbnail Sam Bennett. I'm not either. So this is not a Sam Bennett course, but it is a Russell Knox course.
love Russell Knox. I love him. I love him more because the
He's
numbers
from
keep moving.
Scotland at 80-1, and we're talking about windy coastal conditions. That sounds like a Russell Knox if I've ever heard one. And 80-1 is about 30 longer than I expected.
Well, and my model loves him. Rated out number one for me. Everything that I think this
That's
course
pretty
and
good. He was number 9 in mine, so I was like circling Russell Knox, and you had him at number 1, so you're going to play him pretty heavy.
well, I'll tell you, originally he was in my top 10, and then I went back and I ran a more targeted kind of comp course model and set my filters to extra windy and just did overall total strokes gained in those conditions on comp courses. And that's what actually shifted him basically 7 spots. I think he was 7 or 8 when I originally ran it. And then I added that metric and that bumped him up. Nonetheless, he's in the top 10. If you buy the win narrative, then he's number 1 in my model. If you don't, he's number 7 in my model. So he's an excellent play at 80-1, and one of my picks to win this week. So
Nice.
love him. We did skip right over another guy who's a favorite of mine this week, and I know you're not going to like it, but Ryan Moore actually popped up to number 2 when I added that metric as well.
He is
So
accurate. He is accurate.
and likes the wind and actually has been playing decent golf.
He
So
has.
so I think that
Do I like watching him play? No, not at all.
yeah, but I think the paradigm shift you got to have this week is this shouldn't be a birdie fest. You know, this should be
No, this is going to feel like Pebble Beach, but warmer.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
Pebble Beach is the same length, coastal, windy all the time, except it's chilly at Pebble Beach. Like people think, oh, it's California, it's warm. It's like no, NorCal on the coast is freezing cold. There's that Mark Twain saying the coldest winter day I ever felt was a day in July in San Francisco. Absolutely true. You need minimum 3 layers on the coast in the summertime because there's no sunlight and it's wind coming off the coast. You freeze your ass off. And Pebble Beach in February when they run that tournament is never warm. This is like Pebble Beach if they just turned it up to a nice balmy 80 degrees.
Yeah, and I think in a lot of ways that humidity and that
Yeah.
all that moisture is going to
Oh yeah.
be extra heavy too. Like
It's super heavy and the wind affects the ball even more on the coast because of the humidity.
yeah, and I mean to kind of touch back on what I said because I think I may undersell the scoring possibilities on this course with what I said. Like you're probably going to still be in the neighborhood of 17 to 20 under, but
Yeah.
you're not going to be looking at the high 20s, low 30s that we've been looking at last week. So
No.
there's still scoring opportunities, but this is just going to be a lot more manageable for these guys. And so that's why I think guys like Russell Knox that I normally wouldn't want to throw into like a pure birdie fest, I think starts to seem a lot more appealing. Same with Ryan Moore. So those would be my
And
2 right in that
they're
range.
very similar players, honestly. It goes to show why they popped up. I'm not playing, despite him having an ultimate awesome name to give a nickname to. I'm not playing Kramer Hickok. Hey, Dee Dee is here. She's on our Facebook page though. She's checking us out on other platforms.
Just helping the algorithm.
Yep. Shout out NorCal Kevin Chappell is here. I like him a little bit more this week versus other weeks, but he's a very short hitter, very straight hitter, very good short game, which is appealing. That's
Him and
he
Kelly.
probably Kelly Craft,
Yeah.
who didn't like
DFS.
El Cardinal because it was long and wide and he couldn't get an advantage.
I do like them both in DFS, and we can talk about them more when we get over to that side. But I think they're definitely good additions to DFS lineups this week, both of them.
Yeah, and I have some guys down here that I'll be playing in DFS too. But as far as betting goes, I end at 80-1 with our boy.
So I got somebody. Anybody who ends up watching this, it's a little newer to it. We have a propensity for finding these diamonds in the rough, and I think Chase Johnson is somebody that we need.
Write that down.
We
Write that down.
need
Chase Johnson. Nobody knows who the hell that is.
but I think they're gonna because he's performing better in DFS than he is in the outright betting market. No doubt about it. He's very cheap over there. I will be playing him again this week. But
You know who Chase Johnson sounds like? He's that random NASCAR driver that never seems to be on the lead lap. That's Chase Johnson. It's not a real person. He's just like, oh, and trying to get back as the lucky dog on the lead lap is Chase Johnson in the 47 Ford. Yeah, it's like nobody knows who the hell he is, but he's always there.
So we don't have a whole lot of PGA stats on Chase Johnson
because nobody knows who the hell he is.
But he is I've done dumber shit with $5 bet for the week because he is 500 to 1. And he, just so we're all on the same page, in the 4 tournaments really that we have actual shot track data for, he's driving the ball about 320 yards. He's hitting fairways at about a 72% clip. He's hitting greens around 70% of the time. And he's making birdies. So this is definitely a dude to watch. He seems to, at least at a glance so far.
Who's Chase Johnson? He's a dude.
Pretty good. He's a dude, bro. But he does seem to have a pretty well-rounded game that I think we're going to be the ones that are a little early to party with him because I definitely think that he can put it together. So,
all right. So I will find a deep shot here that I will be throwing a couple bucks on. Actually, this might be a very huge $5.30 upside pick, but at 1,500 to 1, shout out NorCal, Nick Watney. This might be the place where he actually shows up. I'm not saying bet him over outright, but for him to make the cut is so astronomically favorable that betting a guy at 1,500 to 1 outright, throw a buck on him. Who cares? But throwing $5 on him to make the cut that's a huge payoff for just making the top 65 in ties. And Nick Watney, like if you roll back the clock 7 years, that's one of the best golfers in the world. And really, he went through injuries and then lost his form, lost his confidence. A lot like what we saw from Brooks Koepka a couple of years ago. He just never got it back. And this is the kind of field where he's too good to not just show up in Bermuda and do something. So I still have faith that Nick Watney has something left in the tank. He still has his tour card from all the success from a few years ago. So give me some Nick Watney at 1,500 to 1.
I don't hate it. Andy's got the early tee time going out Thursday, so that gives him an opportunity to get going before the wind does. So I think he's going off at about 6:40. So
that's a wild one, huh?
Yeah, it's weird to look at it too because that does start to lead me on to a few people. Like Kelly Craft has the first tee time, and I like him in DFS, and now I'm leaning a little bit more towards maybe throwing a few bets at him because I think that AM tee time on Thursday is going to give the guys a pretty big advantage. The way the wind starts to shake out for the rest of the tournament.
All right, what do you say we try to avoid some trunk slams like Connor did last week? We had 4 out of 6 matches, and then we had one of our guy. I missed the cut with one guy, so I had a 5 out of 6 lineup. He had a 4 out of 6 lineup. So my
had a withdrawal.
Yeah,
Mav McNeely. What do you go? Shoots +2 the first day, goes out and rebounds and shoots, I think, 4 under the second day. Gonna make the cut and withdraws. I don't know why. I was so pissed I didn't look it up. But
yeah. So anyway, the one difference between our lineups was none other than Hayden. Don't fuck me, Buckley. What did he do to you, Connor?
Fucked me.
And he was on my team, and it was the only difference in our lineups at the end of the day because your withdrawal guy and my barely missed the cut guy had the same amount of points at the time, and so it was literally the difference of Hayden Buckley versus another guy who missed the cut. It was glorious. The karma of saying "Don't fuck me, Hayden Buckley," and I had him in my lineup, and it was the difference, and won me a matchup. I will take it and pat myself on the back for putting Hayden Buckley in where we had 4 matches. I was like, something had to give.
Bro, I'm just happy to see you get an early season W because you should stockpile them now.
All right, so let's hit it. No trunk slams.
The club is well. This would be a wrestling slam.
All right, DFS, DraftKings, golf, it's all about leverage. And in this field, there's probably not going to be a whole lot of leverage to be found right in the obvious parts of it. So we're going to tier this out. We have 4 golfers at 10,000 or above. Connor, who is the leverage pick of the week above 10K?
So thankful that you would ask, as I'm still refreshing. Hold, please.
Connor is also paid by the hour.
Oh man, I'm telling you, it is catching up with me right this second. Hang on one sec. Ownership projections, got her. At the top, we are looking at Brendan Todd and Akshay Bhatia, tipping the scales around 21 and 22, respectfully.
You love to see it, don't you?
I actually am. I'll have some shares up here, mostly Adam Scott, Brendan Todd. But I actually, I'm not starting very many lineups that high. Like,
Yeah,
I'll be there, but
pretty smart.
I'm dropping down. There's going to be a lot more balance. Still some risk, but a lot more balance to my lineups this week.
I think what I did was I did 15% on Scott, 15 on Todd, 25 on Bhatia, because I do like him. I think I'm going to throw a 5 or 10 on Dietrich just to be safe. But a lot of my lineups, again, are starting in the 9s. So I'm with you. I'm with you because it's easier to build that way. Because we do not want to be sub 7K this week. For the love of God, do not be below 7K with any of your golfers because it's not a positive expected value. Let's just say that.
It's not going to be a positive viewing experience, a positive weekend experience. Nothing about it will be positive.
Only the scenery in Bermuda.
But no, realistically, like the chalk that I'm probably going to eat this week is Lucas Glover. I'm going to start a lot of lineups there at projected 22% rostership. Ben Griffin is right underneath him, projected at also 22%. Lucas Glover has winning upside. Ben Griffin doesn't. So
correct. That's accurate.
That's the chalk I'll eat.
Oh yeah, and it's really not that bad for a guy of that class in this field. It should be higher, and I'm eating it up to 30%.
Well, and if you look at the projections on a few of these guys that I also like Doug Gim at 14%, like whether you like him or not, in general, he does set up pretty well. He's in good form, and 9K at 14%. He's a pretty good leverage play. Luke List is tracking at 12%. I honestly think, as far as DFS goes, taking the savings and going Doug Gim, maybe the play
smart.
here.
That's smart, and that's leverage too. That's smart play because Luke List is very prone in a tight course like this to completely implode on you and shoot an 81, and then you're absolutely screwed with that chalk. That is a very dangerous DFS pick with chalk attached.
Well, and that's
trying to bet on him because he has that upside, but DFS, he scares the daylights out of me.
Yeah, I think Taylor Pendrith, right, is the same way. And I know people are going to want to go out and play Taylor Pendrith. He is playing very well, but
fade of the week,
23% roster.
Ooh, that's an easy fade. That's the easiest fade.
That's where
Give me all the Alex Smalley instead.
Well, and Smalley is getting some gas behind him too, but he rates out super well for me also. Alex Smalley versus Taylor Pendrith. I'll take Smalley head to head, no problem.
Smalley 8,900 is averaging. Let's see, he's averaging the same points per game as Pendrith, and if he gets even it's 5% less chalk, then they're in business.
Well, and he rates out significantly better. And the thing I really like about Alex Smalley is he is a lot more accurate. I think with Taylor Pendrith, you're seeing accuracy in spurts, but as a general statement, Alex Smalley's consistent. He's also a better wind player.
And he's cheaper.
Yeah, and so there's just a lot of reasons to pivot down to Smalley. And I think that once the general public, not that these are high general public tournaments, but you start getting people, Taylor Pendrith is somebody that's going to pop up. He's currently doing better, whatever. However, you look at the tournament results when you click into his name. So I think more people will click him at the end of the day. I'll go ahead and go with Smalley.
What's the ownership projection on our guy, Homeless Hubs?
It kind of ruins it for me, and
he's chalky as hell, isn't he?
He's not chalky as hell. He's 17%, but
that's not bad.
No, it's not, but it's it's a little bit challenging because you're really probably going to have a harder time getting him and Smalley into a lineup. And I think objectively, I like Smalley better for DFS purposes.
Alex Mogadishu Smalley.
I think my play on Hubbard's going to be bet the outright, and I think my DFS play is going to be much more Smalley focused.
Yeah, and I'm going to skip through some of these: Nick Hardy, Ryan Palmer, Davis Riley, Stuart Sink, Dylan Wu. We already covered. Are you interested in any of those guys? Because I'm not.
Not particularly.
I go right to Brandon at 8,100. That's kind of my one guy in the eights that's like a solid locked in player for me in DFS.
Yeah, I would say he's not even for me. My next guy's at 7,800, Troy Merritt. So you
Troy
can go
Merritt,
ahead.
okay.
You can talk about Brandon if you want.
I just like the way he plays, and he's averaging 69 fantasy points a game, which is in that same range as the guys that are 500 more expensive, and Brandon Wu's not going to pick up any chalk. Nobody knows who the hell he is. Shout out NorCal, Brandon Wu. It's like this is a no brainer for us, right? He's got to be like 12%.
He's right about 11. Yeah, 11, 12.
Damn, I'm good.
You are good. Yeah, I think he's a good play from that perspective. I mean, I think I would, if you're down there, that's probably the play. I mean, we're looking at like a Davis Riley at almost the same percentage, Dylan Wu at almost the same percentage, Vincent Whaley at 16%. Somebody knows the secret about Vincent Whaley that I don't, because
I've never seen him play well. Have you?
Not on my radar.
No, and if you go down here into the high sevens, you have Merritt, who is averaging 86.8 points per tournament, 2 top 10s in 4 events this wraparound season, playing out of his damn mind right now. How is he not chalkier than all those guys?
That's I don't know. I will say this:
is that a keep your voice down play?
I think it may be, because here's a couple of things that really popped for me, especially when I added the wind metric. That overall strokes gained in extremely windy condition metric that I added, he's number 4 in strokes gained in extreme conditions. And then you just look at his normal game. He's number 8 tee to green in this field. He's number 2 around the green. He's number 6 in scrambling. Like he's playing really well.
He's solid. Do I think he's live to win here? Not necessarily, but in the DFS play where you're just looking to rack up points and make the cut, he's going to do that for you. He's going to be a top 20 guy, but with lots of DFS upside.
He does have winning upside, in my opinion, in this field. Like I can definitely.
In this field, yeah, I guess equal to or greater than most of this field as far as winning upside.
So I don't mind him as an outright bet, and I definitely will have him in a lot of lineups. I think at that price, he just fits in really, really nicely. So probably not going to mention his name the rest of the season, but I'm going to play him this week.
Well, and both of your guys in the mid sevens, Matty Schmid at 77, Justin Lauer 76. Those are both solid plays. I like Schmid more, upside more on DFS side. Lauer is less than impressive for me. Like he's good, probably going to make the cut, but I don't know by how much. I don't know how many points he actually scores in the process. I think Matty makes the cut and he starts making some noise with some birdies where other guys might be scrambling for pars.
And I think I like the international chops on Matty, to be honest.
Yeah.
Going to have more experience with the wide open coastal link style. Not that this is a link style course, but I'm just saying like courses that are wide open don't have the trees, don't have the wind break to them. So yeah, I like Matty Schmid in there. Love Ryan Moore. I already talked about him, number 3 in this field for windy conditions.
Such a good price on him.
3 on approach. He's looking real stout right now. And then Russell Knox.
Yeah, our boy Malnati's there too at 74. This is a stout area in the mid sevens.
The sevens are where I'm spending the vast majority of my salary. I'm because I think the sevens are incredibly well balanced with the players that are there. So,
and they're good players,
underpriced players. So it always scares me because I'm like, yeah, either I'm really smart, or I'm going to be looking at these going, oh, I got a 1 of 6 come Saturday.
It's the former, of course. Definitely can't be the latter.
But I really, really like that low sevens, 7,500 and down. I think there's a lot of really critical plays. Like you really need to take and saturate your lineups with those guys because that's where the value is this week.
Even Patton Kazire looks pretty good here.
Yeah, Patton Kazire popped, and
I don't hate Patton Kazire like I do EVR, so let's not forget to mention Patton Kazire because when he pops and he actually does something this week, we can say we mentioned his name.
Yeah, just everybody mark the timestamp 45:22 into the show. Bo said you should play Patton Kazire.
Yeah, he has been mentioned.
Getting down there. Kelly Craft, I already touched on him. Good wind player, good driver of the golf ball.
You would say he's crafty in the windy conditions.
I would say that, and he also likes him a par 5. He tends to score quite well on those.
7,200. That's good. Good price. As we get down closer to 7 and below, that's a fantastic play.
Right? It feels infinitely better down there, doesn't it?
Ugh.
Our old boy Chucky Hoffman actually rates out okay.
Your guy there. I don't like Charlie.
He rates out decent. 7,100. I think that he's going to be an interesting play depending on how rostership starts to kind of figure out down there. Just because a lot of people are trying to stay out of that sub 7. And old Chucky Hoffman is only projected at 1% with good reason, but he rates out decent.
Yeah, I was looking at it going, 1% for me is low.
Walk me through how Nico Echeverria is projected at 11% at the same price. Like you cannot tell me that Nico.
They just like the fun name to say.
You can't tell me that he is better than Charlie Hoffman objectively. You can't.
He's not, and he's also not better than Kevin Chappell or even Jason Duffner at this rate.
And I mean,
this is a Duffner course too. And for DFS, if he can make the cut, this is a guy who he's won a major before. This is a guy who plays on short courses where he's not getting outdriven and holding longer irons than everybody else. Jason Duffner is dangerous. In a DFS, I would like to have as a piece of him at 6,800 because below that, no. Like your random NASCAR driver guy down here is worth a dart throw if you absolutely have to, and you only have that much money left for your 6th spot. But again, if you're down below 7K, you probably spent too much at the top.
I'll say this about Chase Johnson. He's going to be a guy that, like, for me, he scores DFS points. He'll be like a staple when it's a no cut event, et cetera, et cetera. I think here I'll throw a couple bucks at the outright. And if he somehow pops and gets into the top 20 or, gets me a top 10 or does get me the outright, like I'm making plenty of money back on those bets. I don't need to invest DFS capital into them.
Right. I'm going to throw more in a box lineup though.
The more I'm thinking through it, I'm very excited to play him. I really think that we have an opportunity on him at the number he's at this week. But DFS, I don't necessarily need him. I think I can build a really nice lineup and not drop that far down. So,
right, I'm finding that too because it's really not necessary to be down there very often as I'm building lineups with all the guys I like, and I still have I have 10-8 in this lineup, and that's a guy in the 9s, a guy in the 8s, 2 in the 7s, and Chase Johnson. And I have 10-8 left, and there's not even anybody worth 10-8. Adam Scott's 10-7. So if I want to throw Adam Scott in that lineup with Chase Johnson, I don't care how chalky Adam Scott is because nobody else is going to have Chase Johnson.
Well, and that's the thing. If you want to eat a bunch of chalk at the same time, then play some Chase. And I think he'll make the cut. I think that's an excellent bet to do as well to make the cut.
Yeah.
But I was going to say I've built quite a few lineups, and a lot of them I'm leaving over a grand on the table. I love those 7s this week. And
that, in a DFS, that honestly doesn't matter. As long as you're under the cap, it doesn't matter by how much. If you got the right guys, you got the right guys. That's the oldest trick in the book is DFS lineups give you that mind fuck that you have to spend all your salary cap. No, you just play the best plays.
What?
But for people with upset like OCD, Like they have to get it as close as they can, or exactly, and they switch themselves out of better plays just to fit it closer to the cap line. And honestly, it doesn't matter. It's if you're under the cap by any amount, you have a valid lineup, and if you have the best plays, play them. Have conviction. Your algorithm, I'm telling this to both of us so we can remember it, mantra, play the best plays because we have the best plays. Our algorithm, our stats work. Remember, Connor, what we did last week? We didn't trust our stats, and we ended our own winning streak.
I'm very much doing that this week. I'm very much trusting it. Like I said, it's
Trust it. Don't look at the salary cap. Just make sure you're under it. That's all that matters.
Yeah, there you go. Don't spend all your money. So first round leader, and then I'm going to go take a COVID test or something.
You sound terrible.
Thank you. I feel as good as I sound.
First round leader, give me, this is weird, give me Lucas Glover. I think he comes out like gangbusters. I think he goes super low first round.
I think that I am going to go.
I'll actually pull that stat up here. Round one leader, Lucas Glover, 40-1.
I'm going to go Doug Gim.
Whoa, that's a deep shot. It's 50-1.
Yeah, I'm going to go Doug Gim. I like his tee time assignment. He's 506. So he's fourth group off.
Okay.
So I like that he's going to get out.
50-1. That's nice. And he can definitely go low. We've seen it from him.
Yeah.
We don't know when it's going to happen, but he does occasionally go really low.
And then I'm going to definitely just stick to what I said. I think it's between Russell Knox or Lucas Glover for me for the actual win. And I have a feeling you and I may align on this. I think I am going to go Lucas Glover. I think 20-1 on Lucas Glover for the outright.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. And then I'll throw another one out here because a little bit longer, a little bit, not a whole lot. But I think this is crazy. Call me crazy. But I think Homeless Hubs gets it done. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that make us feel so good to have one of the most likable characters on the tour win a tournament that we talked about him at length? Mark Hubbard, 28-1. I'll take a shot. Just mention it. I do agree with you on Glover though.
Oh yeah,
Full send on Glover. Full send on Glover. 3/4 send on our guy Homeless Hubs.
Yep, and Hubs is one of the 4 main guys I wrote up in my column too. So I'm right there with you.
Shout out Canada because we love Canada. They make up a great deal of our viewing audience. We love Canada and we love Mark Hubbard.
Oh, Canada. All right.
From Conor Coughlin, who seems to be dying of some respiratory ailment, to
God willing, I'll see you next week.
Yeah, we'll see you next week if whatever you have you don't succumb to that, like Oregon Trail.
Oh God, you better hope I don't, because otherwise you're gonna have to do this show with Seth.
Oh man, I can't talk about Callum Tarrant again.
You just gotta hope.
Join us next week for whoever is going to be next to me. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you subscribe and like to the 19th hole in between media. Have a good night.